Hi, Cancer. Welcome to your September 2019 Astro Update. It's Raina here. And so we have a similar beginning to September as we did in August, where there's a cluster of inner planets in one sign. And in September, the party moves to the sign of Virgo. And for you, this is the third house, which is the house of teaching and learning, so communicating in general, and brothers and sisters, extended family members. So because we're coming off of a new moon in Virgo at the end of August, there is a lot of fresh beginnings, seeds being planted in the types of areas that I've just mentioned. And so that also adds to that sense of forward momentum. But actually, even in the latter part of August, if you're listening to this in August, you're going to be dealing with this as well, where, because the sun is going into Virgo in the third week, and these other planets follow, so don't worry, or they're already there, so this is kind of a continuation of late August in a lot of ways. And so, given the fact that you tend to be a family person, very family oriented, Cancer, this could very well have something to do with siblings. And it's kind of funny that Venus and Mars are both in this house because, when I'm compiling transits and I see that Mars has gone through a house and then maybe Venus goes through, I always think of a cleanup crew where you have some conflict in a particular area of life and then things get smoothed over. And in this case, Venus and Mars are both there at the same time. I mean, if there is some kind of a scenario, maybe this is like a family reunion, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something along those lines, because then the energy moves to the fourth house. The fourth house is the house that you rule in the universal chart. And it's all about home and family, the mother, but also childhood, the past. So your hometown, maybe you're visiting. And so obviously you come in contact with your siblings if it's a family reunion, and also cousins, and it depends on how big your family is. If you're, sometimes people's cousins are like their brothers and sisters. I mean, that's how close they are. So it could be one of those deals. And even for a family-oriented person, you're not going to necessarily get along with all of your siblings, especially if you come from a big family. So when I said Venus and Mars in that third house, it could be because, there's some of them you're really getting along with and some that you're fighting with. But the other thing that this could be connected to is something surrounding perhaps a move. And maybe you've already scouted out a location, a neighborhood that you want to live in, and kind of being very active, getting to know your neighbors. The third house can be your neighbors. It's your local area. And, going around on foot could be Mars, like just kind of like that short distance traveling where you are, kind of like getting a feel for the logistics of, how long does it take to go to the store? What do you got to do? And just on the ground. Or maybe you haven't, decided to rent in that area or buy, and you just want to see what it's like at different times of day before you actually plunk down any money. Could be one of those deals. But there's a lot of kind of like, if it is geographical, it's your immediate area versus traveling long distances. And, so like in the United States, we have a holiday called Labor Day, which is on, the first Monday in September. And it's pretty common for people to travel, not necessarily across country, but, to some nearby lake or whatever, to kind of like say goodbye to summer and to make, to get ready for the fall. So it could possibly be that you are, as the month begins, doing something along those lines where you're traveling a short distance, but somewhere you can relax. This is great for teachers, and definitely I think of Cancer as a sign of the teacher. And, especially with young ones, the third house can be elementary school, but any kind of training that you're engaging in could be third house. On the 14th, we have a full moon at 21 degrees of Pisces, fellow water sign, nice trine energy. This is your ninth house, and this is the opposite of that third house. So it's going to have the opposite kinds of, attributes. So rather than local distances, long distances. Rather than mundane knowledge, abstract knowledge. Full moon could be graduating from college. Now, you might say, who graduates from college in September? But it might just be some kind of, not that was when you actually graduated, but that's when you get your diploma or degree, the official paperwork. You could be, some of your dreams, if you've been wanting to travel, everything might come together at this time. On the same day, Mercury and Venus go into Libra in that fourth house. So yeah, Mercury can be like paperwork and things like that. Fourth house, home and family. That might be that you are getting ready to visit your family in your hometown. Maybe at the beginning of the month, you're doing a lot of talking with Mercury in the third, back and forth with siblings, trying to arrange this reunion, and then you're actually making travel plans. Mercury and Venus in the fourth can be like, maybe you have bought a house and you've got the contract. Mercury can be the paperwork and the money. You have the money to buy it, Venus. And so that is something that is very significant for you at this time, or what you're focusing on. On the 18th, Saturn turns direct in Capricorn in the 7th house of committed partnership. So, I think of Cancer, I said Cancer's family-oriented, but I think that Cancer is also marriage-oriented, which the 7th house represents. And what I mean by this is that I think of Cancer as a traditional sign, old-fashioned values, looking for security, so therefore looking for marriage, something that you feel is a guarantee, perhaps, whether or not that's true. And when Saturn is transiting this house, when Saturn is direct, it really lends to a serious attitude being taken when it comes to marriage. And it could be when you already are married that you're really trying to save this union. I remember reading someplace where they said that when Saturn transits your 7th house and you are married or in a similar committed partnership, if the relationship is already weak, that it can actually do it in, because Saturn isn't going to allow for things that are not viable to survive. And that if it is, relatively good union, then it will emerge even stronger, because it will have withstood that kind of, I don't know what we would call it, but that the test, maybe the karmic test of Saturn. So Saturn being direct in the 7th can really kind of make you more determined to either salvage something or to attract that caliber of marriage relationship, serious relationship. Because when it was retrograde, you might have been a little bit lax and not as discerning and maybe even said, you know what, I don't really want this, or questioned your desire for that type of relationship. You could be definitely taking things a lot more seriously. And on the 23rd, when the sun goes into Libra, at the equinox time, which is a very powerful time where the sun is going into a cardinal sign, like you with the solstice, summer solstice, and now we have the fall equinox. Obviously, this is northern hemisphere. This is, again, that 4th house of home and family. Few days after that, on the 28th, new moon at 5 degrees Libra in the 4th house. So if you combine the influence of Saturn going direct in the 7th, along with this 4th house activity, new beginnings with marriage, you could be discussing starting a family with your partner. Maybe there was some kind of a rift in the sense of like not really feeling that sense of commitment from that person, and then being afraid of starting a family, wanting that kind of, that sense of, I was going to say obligation, which doesn't sound good. I think of Saturn as connected to duty or to responsibility. And if you had felt for a period of time that that was not present in your marriage, you may have been afraid to actually start a family or even have any kind of desire to take things to that level because of obvious reasons. So you might be moving in a new direction come the end of the month with the new moon in that 4th house, and possibly thinking of becoming a mother, or if you are a man, having that family. And this can also be something connected with your mother, or even real estate as well. It could be like buying a house, for instance. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this, Cancer. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. My website is rainamoonastrology.com. Take care. Bye.